Okay, it is 6 p.m. on Monday, February 3rd. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Winooski City Council. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Deputy Mayor Thomas Renner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, first up is public comment. You're here for the hearing. We'll get to that in just a minute.
Thank you.
If you are on Zoom, if you're here for the public hearing, we'll be on that in just a moment. But if there's something else you wanted to make comment on, now is the time for any open public comments. You can use the chat or raise hand feature to let us know. Okay, seeing no comment, we'll move to our consent. Oh, I skipped agenda review. Good with the order of tonight's agenda.
Can we pull from the consent agenda item C out?
Oh, the resolution?
Yep.
Sure, let's put that as item B in regular.
Perfect.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns about the consent agenda? No. All right, so I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, with C removed.
Yeah, so moved.
Motion by Thomas, second by Aurora. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we're on council reports. Charlie, would you like to start?
I don't have much of a report this week, but I'll have one 2 weeks from now.
Okay, thank you. Thomas.
I also don't have any updates since our last meeting last week.
All right. I will just share that I joined staff and school leadership at one of the Housing Authority properties for budget engagement. Pretty small group, but they were engaged, generally pleased with city services, particularly with our police department and feeling safe in the community. They did raise some concerns about sidewalk conditions and pedestrian crossing safety, which I passed along to staff. And actually, some of their concerns are already incorporated into our ADA plan. So that was good to share. And then I will also share, I recorded an episode of In the World of Winooski on Town Meeting TV, where the developer of our hotel and housing project downtown shared project updates. So we will be sharing that out so folks know timelines and what they can expect there. That is it for me.
The main thing I have to update is that a reminder that Thursday, February 20th at 6 p.m. over Zoom, we will be having the next meeting of the Inclusion and Belonging Commission. We have a lot of really interesting things on the agenda, mostly around discussion, but introducing some community partners and discussions with community partners, including the School District Anti-Racism Steering Commission, reviewing the funds left for the IMB stipends and discussing next steps around that, as well as some discussions around updates on the Working Community Challenge Grant. So that again is going to be on Thursday the 20th at 6 p.m.
All right, thank you. On to city updates. Elaine.
Yes. Everybody is invited to join the City of Winooski and Winooski School District tomorrow night. That's Tuesday, February 4th, for the Our Taxes, Our Future City and School Budget event to learn about city and school budgets and what will be on the town meeting day ballot this year. The family-friendly event is hosted by the Winooski Partnership for Prevention and is free and open to all. We'll have a buffet-style dinner provided by a Winooski restaurant, youth basketball in the gym for kids, and open house activities where you can play the budget game, learn more about progress on our equity initiatives, and hear from special city and school guest speakers. For full details about this event and for all things ballot, budget, and election, please visit our website at winooskivt.gov/townmeeting. And if you can't attend, the annual town meeting day informational meeting is the night before the election. The informational meeting will be on Monday, March 3rd, at 6 p.m. at the Winooski School District. If you have questions about the budget, you can always email budget@winooskivt.gov. That's all.
All right, thank you. So moving into regular items, a public hearing has been noticed for the consideration of a just cause eviction charter change. This is the second of two statutorily required public hearings we need to hold. So at this time, I would like to open the public hearing and we will take public comment and questions. I know you're here. So please join us at the microphone.
Thank you.
If you can reintroduce yourself and then share your comments.
Absolutely. My name is Brian Armstrong, and I've been a property owner in town for probably 20 plus years. For the record, I'm also a real estate agent, small business owner, and I care tremendously about the communities that I grew up in. I grew up in Essex. So I thought I'd come here tonight. First and foremost, you folks are putting enough time in. I would thought it only appropriate that I come here in person to show you my passion and how committed I am to be part of this family, or of this community. And again, I've been doing business in Winooski for 20 years. And I want to be very, very clear. My hope that the city looks at what is equitable. And hopefully I say this in a very kind way. I'm at peace with whatever you guys decide. My concern isn't for me. My concern is for the next generation of homeowners, property owners, and the negative impact that could come from this in the long game. I think it's potential if we ask ourselves in a society that left and right, I don't mean politics, you're coming out with sort of sizzles, explosive headlines. It's really easy to sink our teeth into this one and say it makes sense. We got to eliminate just cause evictions or no cause evictions. But I think if we dive deeper, there could be some significant long-term effects to people who wish to not only buy in Winooski, but more importantly, live and own in Winooski. So I think it was Thomas, last week you mentioned that I think some of this came through because landlords were just asking people to leave to raise rent. Or that's, if I think you surmise, that's possibly why this is happening.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at when that happens. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the book Freakonomics, but the gentleman who wrote it studied a defense industry bagel provider who did charity bagels for 3 years. And he drop them off and go collect the money afterwards. 3.5 years of tracking found that 89% of the bagels were paid for. Now he argued that means 89% of the people who walk this earth are good, honest, decent people. I would completely agree. So I have no doubt there are probably some landlords out there that just do no cause evictions solely to line their pockets. I'm going to guess it's not 11%. I'm going to guess it's down to 2 or 3%. And I say that because I've run real estate companies for 35 years. Now, I would trust that we could also imagine 89% of tenants and residents are great, well-intended people. But there's a portion of that 11% that really beg, what is the equality of the system to deal with that? So, Thomas, specifically to the comment that you surmised, one of the things I've seen happen in real estate ownership and in the brokerage businesses that I'm associated with is you have somebody like myself who's got 20-year tenants, doesn't raise the rent every time they can. In fact, I've got 2 20-year tenants that I think the world of. And I try not to raise their rent every couple years or few years. I do it just a little bit because we got to do it. Costs are going up, taxes went up, at least $100 per unit on the 6 unit I'm involved. But could it also be that somebody who worked very hard to provide for their family in this community, owns a property, keeps their rent low? Maybe they pass, maybe they don't. But when they pass, or they own, they go to sell the property at market price. Because one of the reasons why they did this was to be a housing partner, but also build a little bit of equity for themselves. I'm an IBM brat. I saw IBM move away from pensions. So I realized at the age of 19, unlike my parents, I was not going to be able to bank on a pension to take care of myself. So for 30 years, I've worked 2 jobs, basically, or job and a half. The second was owning apartment buildings and providing fair housing. So I'd ask you guys to consider this. If I have kept rents extremely low, I worked 30 years, I got a great relationship with the city, no police officers. I think if Erica Bailey's still here, she'll tell you that I'm a very straight shooter. I've worked very hard to be fair, to provide. If you guys have issues, I attempt to fix them. With humor, you could ask them about a woman by the name of Thea Artemis and how it took me 1.5 years to get her out and the issues she's caused in the building. John Audi actually sawed off a handrail that the state required I put on. I don't think John's with you guys anymore. Now, so if I do this for 30 years and I die tomorrow and my heirs step in and sell this at today's rate, which they have a right to do, Is it possible that the buyer who also intends to be another good landlord, another good housing provider, has had to pay the price of today as opposed to the price I paid from 25 years ago, and has no other option but than to bring the rents up to market to make their mortgages? One of the big challenges I see in real estate right now, you get a lot of sellers at 3.25% interest rate. An investor buying this day and age, and this is not about investors and just about investors. This is about making it win-win-win. Win for the community, win for the tax rolls to fund schools, win for the right of property ownerships. Is it possible that those landlords, who many of them will be primary residences, have no other choice but to raise the rent to be able to make their ends meet? I drive a used car. I don't think in all of my life I bought one new used car. So this is not about me driving a Bugatti. I have no interest in that, for the record. So I think last week I shared my first amazing wife. I've had two. First amazing wife, rest her soul. Lost her mother at 13, raised by a Marine, worked 2 jobs to be able to buy her first duplex. And she did so because she wanted to be able to provide something for her son's college education. Last week I shared, we had a tenant, it was on River Street, where tenant, in her view, was threatening, misogynistic, and she didn't feel comfortable going there by herself. Now, it would have been really hard to prove that there was a lease violation. And so I have to ask you, would you advise a single mother who's working hard to provide for her son to take a chance on buying a property in this town if she couldn't feel comfortable going herself to the building to collect rent? Now, I brought this up and I want to bring it up again. Drug dealing. When Burlington took this up and I went to hearings, they said, well, hey, if Brian's dealing drugs and Tom's a neighbor, he'll go to Charles, he'll go to the court with Charles, or Charles will go to the court to help him get Brian out. Ask your police officers. When they have concerns about short-term traffic, out-of-state license plates that show up on the weekends, will they find the neighbors really want to get involved? Some of the proudest moments I've had working with your police officers were when I had these concerns in my building and how cooperative they were to work with to help us address the issues. But in reality, the times that I've used no-cause eviction, never just to raise a rent. It was when I had concerns about drug dealing. I'd go up to tenants and say, hey, we're hearing these rumors. I don't know if they're true or not, but I just want to let you know I just talked to the city. They're going to be watching the building. And if that didn't address it, and that usually did, then I would do a no-cause eviction at that point because I couldn't prove this person was dealing drugs. Hoarding. Not really a lease violation. But when you have significant, and the gentleman who my first wife, rest her soul, was also a massive hoarder. Now, I owned the building a little bit, my father. I had to talk to him 2 or 3 times about cleaning up. I wanted to help him. He was a good human being, but he wouldn't do it. And I ask everybody to answer the question loudly or quietly to themselves. Would you rent an apartment unit next to somebody who had extra freezers, extra barbecue grills, all sorts of stuff hanging out? And so the problem begins both with concerns about potential drug dealing and hoarding. Is if there's not the opportunity for no-cause eviction, then our ability to not only first work with them through diplomacy, but then move them out is going to be so significantly muted that what I foresee happening is it's going to be no difference than some form of infestation. Because if that person, and this person I think still resides in the city, was such a bad hoarder that it really became difficult to place other great residents in the building. Now, for the record, I ended up buying him out. I don't think a lot of landlords do that. I ended up buying him out first because even though he became a real issue both for my first wife, rest her soul, and for me to attract other tenants. You can tell I care. I didn't want, the person was a good human being. They just had mental health issues. So I encourage you guys to take a look at that. Here's another story. Ran a credit bureau, checked references. I had 2 individuals that seemed to be forthright. They were upfront about their issues. And I said, hey, from every single reason on here, there's not a reason for me to rent this unit. But I'll tell you what, I'll take a chance. I'll give you a 6-month lease. And if you pay rent on time, which is to me is somewhere around the 5th, definitely before the 10th, I'll renew the lease, no problem. I found myself going every single month on the 2nd or 3rd week to the door, saying, hey, we had a deal, I took a chance on you. This isn't really working out. So no cause eviction in that case was an exit strategy for me, not because, because I just wanted to raise the rent, but because I knew if I took them to court, it would take, now it's 6 months on average, and if they request a jury trial, be a year and a half. I mean, would anybody buy this building if they were to take 6 months to a year and a half from now? And these are housing providers. These just aren't people trying to make an extra buck for their child. So I went to the people and I said, I'm not going to renew the lease. This is a situation that we agreed upon, and they were actually great human beings. They agreed. They acknowledged, hey, we didn't agree to fulfill our obligation, so we're out. But they could have easily fought that no cause eviction, and at the time would have taken me 3+ months to get them out. Now it's on average 6 months if they don't request a jury. Refugee resettlement. I'm really proud to have participated in that program. And I'll be candid about my politics. I'm a hardcore left-leaning social liberal, financially right conservative, which means I'm a walking, talking oxymoron. The refugee resettlement to me is a great example of, first and foremost, we have a 2% unemployment in this state. As an employer, it's brutally hard to find people to fill great jobs. But how many landlords are going to not take a chance working with a great group of people who I think has been an amazing lifeblood for this city? Because they don't have great credit references. There's this elimination of no cause evictions. So if I move these people in, I'm basically giving them a life estate. So I ask you guys to ask yourself the question, how many Winooski residents will pause at buying properties in their own town if this goes through? How many landlords like me, and this isn't a threat because I'm at peace with what you guys do, I'm going to make my way. How many good landlords, and I think I'm one of them, Eric Bale, I think, will tell you that. Although I dropped off donuts one time and she questioned if there's anything on it, but that's a whole other story. How many good landlords will say, you know what? Yeah, I make an okay amount on this, but it's a stressful business. You know, I have candidly have shares in a property management company. We had frozen pipes over the weekend. How many good landlords like me will just say it's just too risky to be in Winooski? And the answer probably is we won't be able to tell what that answer is. But I'll tell you who I do think will be fine. Huge corporations that are just going to say, do they have the right credit? Do they have the thing? Nope. Sorry, have a nice day. I will tell you, if this goes through, I am going to have to rethink giving people chances, because I will feel that they are having a life estate in my properties. Again, this isn't about Brian. This to me is about finding win, win, win. Win for the residents, the opportunity to invest in their future. Win for those residents who, by unfortunate circumstances or by choice, choose to rent, not own. Win for the small business owners that help pay school taxes and contributed to tax rolls, and a win for the city that has a robust population of both renters, owners, and responsible small business parties. I've also came here tonight because my mom raised me right. I didn't feel right that my camera wasn't on last week, and I needed to show you guys the respect to show up in person. How many people from the people who wrote this legislation are here? How many people have testified? Again, if this was Florida where it took 30 days on average to get a renting resident out, I think the elimination of no-cause eviction would be a very worthwhile topic. I have friends who own in those states, and it, for the record, it seems a little unequitable in that direction. Here's the other thing as we think about it. If I'm renting from you guys and you give me a no-cause eviction, and I flip you the proverbial bird, excuse the analogy, you're gonna send Louie and Vinny to see me and get me out that afternoon? No. You're going to file eviction paperwork, and then it's gonna take 6 months while I lobby my rights to stay. So I think by leaving no-cause eviction in place, it's not like people are getting knocked out in 2 weeks, 30 days, 60 days, because if they wanna fight it, they're gonna fight it, and they're gonna be in that property for probably 6+ months. I think this is potentially another example of lots of sizzle but no real bacon behind it, because the rights of the tenants are very strong in the state. I would encourage you guys, based upon Elaine, what you just said, if people stop buying property in the town, particularly, and I know it's not all rentals, but what's gonna happen to the tax roll? Again, in one single swipe, my taxes went up so much to break even just on property taxes. I had to raise a 6-unit building $100 per unit per month to break even. Now forget about the fact that wages have skyrocketed and I have to pay the maintenance people more. Forget about the fact that the cost of vehicles, tools, hammers has gone up tremendously. So I really think if we looked at my analysis, last couple of years, my earnings probably gone down. Again, I'm at peace with that. This isn't about money, this is about a little bit for my family and being a good human in a city that I like. I also have to ask, and I don't mean to get into politics and you guys don't have to share this, it breaks my heart to see of all the, excuse my language, bullshit coming out of Washington, ceasing potential refugee resettlement, ceasing funding. How's that going to affect future Section 8 recipients? Why is it you're going to fight the very people who are trying to be win-win-win and find it? I would argue we have greater challenges to fight to protect the rights of a safe place to live. I love the Section 8 program. I'll be candid. It's great programs. There's people on there that you like. Gentlemen, I'm thinking Leonard, who lives up the street, served his country twice. I am so glad there's Section 8 there. Yes, I have seen people that questionably abuse it. So why would the city potentially take significant legal resources and allocate them towards potential lawsuits of what's reasonable, what's not, is it constitutional, is it not? And they're the people that are trying to provide housing. Now, to the 3%, I'm going to guess, of landlords who are just in it to get, and I think there was a big landlord, what was it, Bove, that made the news with some really horrendous properties. I don't know Mr. Bove. I can't comment to who he is as a person. I can tell you when I heard that as a property owner, I'm glad the city of Winooski has an active code enforcement and active police station. So I guess a couple of the thoughts before you guys tell me to get the heck out of here is, on the surface, this looks simple. It should be eliminated. But I challenge you guys, please, and women, look below the surface. A, is this a pro-tenant state or a pro-landlord state? I would argue it's very much pro-tenant when you look at New Hampshire, 30 days, Florida, 30 days. One, can landlords just get people out without a house? No, 6+ months. I would also challenge you, before you put resources to work for this and take away from the school system, which I think is, one of the things I love about being in real estate, I'm just hearing the vibrance of the school system, the diversity that we have, but I also hear there's a tremendous amount of languages. That's going to take a lot of resources, I'm going to guess, to navigate and teach. We want to take resources away from the kids to fight this. It breaks my heart to think what will happen if this goes, through. Other thoughts, that come to mind is, take a look, and I reached out to Angela Zakowski. I have not heard back from her. I would encourage the city to take a look at the Vermont judicial system and ask of the evictions that are currently taking 6 months, how many of those are no-cause evictions? And I think you may find the conclusion that it sounds great, but this isn't the demon that needs to be fought right now. The demon that needs to be fought is, how do we fund our schools without keep raising taxes on everybody so that home ownership, property ownership is more affordable? Rather than fighting the landlords, how can we make it easier to work with refugees in a time where it's going to be unfortunate to see, and I think this is a sanctuary city, where some of the finest people on earth are nervous about ICE showing up. And then, again, if you had a friend who was a single parent, who worked hard to provide for the family, bought a property, and then they said, you know what? Retirement's going to be expensive, my kid's college is going to be expensive, I'm going to go buy a second property. Would you encourage them to leave that behind and take chances when it's going? Can you imagine not being able to collect rent for 6 months to pay your mortgage as somebody's just started out? So I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. You can tell my passion. I probably stumbled in my words. But I hope the fact that I took 2 nights away from family in a community that had done 20 years of business, and born and raised, they don't have a college degree. For the record, I have my hands in a couple small different companies. I'm most proud. I've started jobs. So if somebody who owns business, who's started jobs, has a good history with your city, is imploring you, not for me, for the long-term health of the city, I hope it will give you pause. Now I know this is a joke, chorus of opposition behind me ready to speak up. It saddens me to think there's a chance that this will go through, because I think it will hurt the very residents that is intended to help. Thoughts, questions, could I share with you any additional insight for being 20-plus year landlord, real estate broker, company owner, and somebody who clearly cares about this town, even though I don't live here?
Well, I thank you for coming in person, and sharing some of these stories and potential unintended consequences to consider. To be clear about where we are in the process, this is a resident-driven petition, came from community members signing on board. It was already voted on and passed last year with pretty strong support and forwarded on to the legislature. So the legislature then is charged with approving any charter changes, and they may pass it as is, they may make changes, significant changes, they may take no action. I will be encouraging folks in the appropriate committees to look at the public hearings that we've had this year and last year, because we did have quite a bit more engagement last year, the first time around. And whatever, if the legislature does take action and send back to us, then we have to evaluate what they approved, what it includes, how we would actually implement enforcing that, or like what the city's role would be. You know, we don't have a role right now in evictions at all. That goes through the court system. So there would be a lot to sort out. And I think there would be several months of work related to that. Public hearings would be required again if we were adopting ordinance around this. So there is a lot of additional process and a lot of things that could change. So I do think like comments like this are useful ahead of being down the road and trying to figure out something that's actually implementable.
And I very much appreciate it. I was aware of where it was, so thank you for that. The reason why I did it too is because while I realize, and that should be respected, it's resident driven, I also understand as leaders, you can have an impact on how and what this happens, and is this appropriate use of funds and dollars. And that's where, again, you can tell me to get out of here. I think there's so many other things to fight right now for home ownership, for advocacies, for residency, that it would just be an unfortunate use of, of tax dollars. And I'm sure that you can all respect, if we keep seeing the property taxes go up, it's going to be really hard for anybody to own, and renting residents too, because landlords just aren't going to be like, you know what, I'm just going to pay Bank of Burlington to own this property. It's not how it works. But I'm guessing testing my welcome here, so.
No, appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
I do see some online attendance. Is anyone else here for public comment in this public hearing? Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no additional comment, I will now close the public hearing. All right, shall we move on to our new item B, the Black History Month resolution?
No issues with this, I am sure everyone would imagine, but I just wanted to pull it out as a separate item just because of the importance I think it always has, but especially right now, with our federal government not recognizing Black History Month anymore. I think it's, I just wanted to make sure that it was noted and that everyone knew that we were recognizing Black History Month in Winooski and just not including it in our regular passages. So that's all.
All right, thank you, Thomas. Any other comment on this one, question? Okay, so do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Thomas. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, that is the end of tonight's regular items. So an executive session has been warned as part of the city manager review process pursuant to state statute section 3133 pertaining to the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee. So I am seeking a motion to find that premature general public knowledge regarding this item would clearly place the city at a disadvantage. That language doesn't actually feel appropriate to this specific scenario, but it is what I generally use. So let me find that.
I think it is technically relevant. So
Okay.
You can just proceed.
So seeking a motion to find that premature general public knowledge regarding this discussion would clearly place the city at a substantial disadvantage because the city risks disclosing its negotiation strategy if it discusses the item in public.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Aurora. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I am looking for a second motion to enter into executive session to discuss this topic under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes, including City Manager Elaine Wong.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Thomas, second by Charlie. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So we're going to move into executive session.
Be there for such a brief period of time.
All right, so we have reached the end of this evening's agenda. I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Thomas. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.